Thank you very much. I was going to do adaptation for round 2, but the creation of climate resilient society, various challenges and measures as subject 2, but you've already touched upon that subject as well. We only have about 20 minutes left remaining, so that taken into consideration. After having heard the 4 panelists, the first round of their comments, if you have outstanding issues that you had mentioned, and Ambassador Horia said that you would be mentioning something in round 2, let me give you the second opportunity to each and every one of you for your second say. Adaptation to climate change could be touched upon, or if you fail to mention some points in your first round of say, then you can touch upon those issues. But we are under time constraints, so if possible, if you could limit your comments to up to 3 to 4 minutes each. First, Mr. Selwyn Hart.
Thank you. I'll try my best. But the issue of adaptation and resilience building is a priority issue for all developing countries. In fact, for all countries. In my view, the best way to build resilience is development. Using, for example, the experience of a tropical storm in the Caribbean region. If it hits Barbados head on, yes, there will be significant damage. But if it hits Haiti, which has a much lower level of development, the effects are devastating. Thousands of people, unfortunately, will likely die. So I think that we need to look at the relationship between development itself, promoting human development, and resilience building. So as we focus on the provision of climate finance, I think it's vitally important for us to ensure that we don't lose sight of the development needs, the core development needs of developing countries, that we assist those countries who need assistance in meeting the Millennium Development Goals, that assistance to ensure that they build societies focused on education and health, that assistance, that we continue to provide that assistance even as we focus on providing assistance to combat climate change. I also wish to fully support what Andre said. It is indispensable, if there's political will, it is indispensable if countries own whatever strategy or program, if there's wide country ownership and stakeholder buy-in. This is indispensable in ensuring the success of any strategy or action. In terms of specific resilience building programs, I will cite 2 examples in the Caribbean and 1 interregional example. The first is the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center, which was established in 2005 to be a regional clearinghouse for climate change data to provide policy advice to the countries of the Caribbean. And that center has played an amazing role in catalyzing action within the Caribbean region on climate change. And they've been reaching out as well to regional entities in the Pacific region and in other SIDS region. And that initiative was inspired by the desire of governments in the region to ensure, to build capacity, as I stated earlier, at a regional level, and also to ensure that the region was fully prepared to address the issue of climate change. The second initiative is the Caribbean catastrophe risk insurance facility, which represented the first international risk pooling arrangement owned by government, supported by the World Bank and a number of donors, including Japan. This has played a significant role in ensuring that countries, after they've been struck by a hurricane or an earthquake, have access to liquidity over the short term so that public servants can be paid, so that governments can provide assistance to those most in need. So these are important initiatives at the regional level that were supported and enabled by many of our international partners and are now being studied by other small island developing states, by other developing countries, but they were owned, developed by the countries themselves. The final initiative is the SIDS doc that the ambassador raised. While we recognize that we're not major contributors to greenhouse gas emissions, as Andre suggested, we looked at ourselves in the mirror and we decided, and we said it is unconscionable for us to ask Brazil or India and China, other developing countries, to do actions that, or undertake actions that we ourselves are not prepared to do. We recognize that we had a tremendous amount of renewable energy potential in our regions. We are all, we have lots of sun, we're surrounded by the oceans, and we put together a program called SIDS Doc. Well, it took some time to attract international support because projects from SIDS, they don't reap the economies of scale that projects from larger countries would. But we're happy that Denmark, that Japan, and others have come on board, and we're honestly looking to attract other partners. So I think a lot is being done. More needs to be done, but I think the message that must be made clear is that projects and programs and strategies are more successful when there's ownership by countries themselves or regions, when there's the political will necessary, and where there's multi-stakeholder participation and buy-in. Thank you.
ありがとうございました。それでは堀。
Thank you very much. Next, Ambassador Horie. Earlier, Ambassador Andre Dulago talked about Rio Plus 20. It was very interesting. Rio Plus 20, as you know, one of the important pillars of that meeting is a green economy. Promotion of green economy, green growth. Green economy initiative in relation to sustainable development has to be implemented and promoted. So lifestyle and habit has to be changed on our part. So inclusive of that, green innovation must be further emphasized in our view. So in relation to green economy, as I said, I am going to talk about this later on. Japan's vision and action toward low carbon growth and climate resilient world. That is what we proposed last year. That is what we announced last year. Simply put, developing countries and developed countries have to come together to cooperate in relation to technology, market, and finance. So all these elements have to be mobilized in order to promote low carbon growth in the world. That is the appeal that Japan made last year. Pillar of that is through the cooperation among advanced countries can promote the development of technology for mitigation of emissions, and at the same time we can cooperate with developing countries. By strengthening our collaboration with developing countries, low carbon technology can be more widely utilized in developing countries and create new market mechanism. That is the gist of our proposal. Now, low carbon growth vision of the world. Based on this, there is one concrete measure we are taking in Africa. African green growth strategy is being developed in African continent. African green growth strategy, that is, the content of it, is mainly focusing on mitigation and adaptation. As Mr. Selwyn Hart mentioned, each country in Africa has to take ownership. So on their own, African countries have to develop their own green growth strategy. And in that, there could be prioritized programs. So prioritizing is very important. So we developed countries, we're going to assist these developing countries for those high priority programs. TCAD is where in 1992 we launched such a effort since that time. So TCAD Ministerial Conference is used for this purpose, and through that forum we are trying to strengthen our relationship with African countries. At the same time, the handout that you have received today, if you refer to that very last page, African Green Strategy and East Asia Summit. East Asia Summit is the forum we use to promote East Asia Low Carbon Growth Partnership. We are going to implement this partnership in the framework of East Asia Summit. In April this year, in Tokyo, we are going to host a meeting for that purpose. So the EAS, East Asia Summit, will be used as a forum to promote that partnership. EAS account for 63% of the global emissions. So also in the session 1, we called for the collaboration among research institutions. The question was raised. So including IGES, or IGES taking initiative as a centerpiece, Japanese research institutions can also participate to create a network among research institutions in East Asia region, and so that these institutions can make a policy proposal. That is being done now. Now, regarding Rio Plus 20, as has been mentioned, the natural disaster prevention, because Japan is prone to natural disaster, so we have much experience in this regard. So we would like to promote initiative in relation to natural disaster prevention, and we would like to enter into Rio Plus 20 meeting.
Thank you.